Welcome back to my podcast, I Don't Think We Talk Enough About, where I am joined weekly by such wonderful guests who bring their warmth and expertise to these topics that I feel we need to talk about more. And today I welcome the psychologist Jo Rodriguez. So Jo's here to tell us more about what this feeling stuck, I almost want to say epidemic, and how we can break free from it. Jo, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I really wanted to bring you in to talk about feeling stuck. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the post that I talked about?
As you say that, I'm thinking, which post was it? Was it a recent post?
I think it was June. Thinking I went back, and it was about not just feeling stuck on a hard day, but actually that feeling of stuckness that just leaves you feeling in a cycle of you just don't know how to move forward. On autopilot. And the reason I pulled you in today was really to talk about what we would refer to as a body's stress response to actually needing to listen a little bit more deeply about it having gone into the body has gone into a stress response to keep you safe. And when I first thought about that concept, I felt this real softening inside that it's actually my body trying to protect me. Why aren't I listening? It's not that I'm broken. It's not that there's something wrong with me. My body is trying to communicate with me. And I think even just knowing that and having that awareness, you can start to do something with it, can't you?
It's quite liberating rather than something that's happening to me that I can't control. It's, there's a reason why this is happening, and therefore I can listen to my body and I can respond. And I can perhaps stop feeling this way if I know how to do that.
Yes, if I know how to do that. So it's that awareness, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about what feeling stuck is in terms of, I say, stress response, fear response, our survival modes, just to just give people a little bit more insight into that?
So I think the stuckness that you're talking about is really it's when our body's fight-flight system is just stuck, essentially, in that we're not at the level where we are running away or we are completely shutting down or we're completely fawning. We're functioning, but we're functioning, like I said previously, almost on autopilot. So we are just going through the motions of daily life, but we don't really feel like we're living. So we may constantly feel slightly anxious, but not really feeling able to move, so really lacking in motivation, or maybe we're putting off things that we know we need to do, we're procrastinating often. So it's really, the stuckness is really, it's a psychological, emotional and physical stuckness, but it's not one that's so severe that we can't function. People want to move forward, but they don't really know how. But I think the problem is that we're so busy doing stuff, just trying to get through the basics of every day, which is actually really overwhelming these days, that we can't figure out how to move forward. How do I feel good in my day-to-day life? What do I do that actually makes me feel happy? Who am I? Because we're so inundated with just the stuff that we have to do on a day-to-day basis. And I think it's that then creates this stuckness where we can't move forward, because our brains are just so full of noise and things that do relate to us on a day-to-day basis, don't relate to us on a day-to-day basis, but mean a lot to us. Things that we can control, things that we can't control. It's overwhelming. And I think because of that, people are frozen in this state of functioning, but not really thriving or flourishing or feeling good.
Yeah, I think, and just come back to that point about people being frozen. And how does that really play out in the body? And I know we're talking about this as a functioning freeze response, aren't we?
Yeah.
But where's the freeze response initiated from? Where's it come from? What is its purpose?
So the purpose, I think, is because we're not completely in the freeze state, but we are still feeling stress. It's our body's way of responding, saying, I know the situation isn't okay, and I know there's a threat coming in, but I don't know where the threat's coming from. And so because our brain doesn't really know where the threat is coming from, we are functioning to some extent, but our fight-flight system is also activated. So your question of where is the threat coming from, it's psychological, but it's also physiological, in that our body is feeling chronic stress, usually. Psychologically, our brains are just inundated with information or not knowing what to do or this, that and the other. Emotionally, we're feeling quite overwhelmed, but also perhaps to the point that we're not feeling anything and we're feeling quite numb. So it's everything. It's a combination of all of that then creates this situation where we don't really feel like we can move.
Are you noticing a difference since, I bring it in here because I feel it is, COVID?
Yeah.
I almost feel we stopped. I'm sure there's some people listening think, oh, don't bring COVID in again. Not again.
Yeah.
But I do think it was such a big part of a collective event.
Yeah.
And I still feel people are existing in a stuck phase from there. You were saying about decline in physical health. What are you seeing there? What?
Well, I think not just COVID related, but I do think it is COVID related, is people are just chronically sick, physically sick, not just coughs and colds and flus, but really, so many autoimmune conditions or autoimmune issues. I'm suffering, I've suffered since COVID with autoimmune, but I know I'm not alone in that. So many people have come forward and said it's happening to me too. And I think our bodies are physically struggling so much with the toll of everything. Perhaps it's COVID related, perhaps it's just as a reflection of everything that's happening, and our bodies are just trying to say this is too much.
Jo, thank you for sharing that. And I didn't realise that you had struggled like that. Do you want to share more here or not? I
don't mind.
Okay, because I think it's really inspiring when someone else brings their story to say it's affecting you too, and you've got real so I think that's a realness that we could bring in here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've started to bring it in on my account a bit more because
I've missed it. Sorry.
No, it's very, very recent.
Okay.
Very, very recent. I shared a little bit in stories. I've only shared a couple of posts. So, because I think it is something that so many people are going through. But, it's also my health. I have a background as a health psychologist. I find it quite ironic that, I came into the profession as a health psychologist and now I have a chronic physical health condition, which is just, so it can happen to anybody. Nobody's immune to this. Nobody's individually to blame or responsible. And you can know everything about, trauma and, how to look after yourself physically and how to exercise and how to eat well, and things can still happen to you.
What are some examples that you'd work with your clients about moving forward with a feeling stuck?
Yeah, I think it comes back to what you said at the beginning in terms of noticing. So when you notice how you're feeling, that's one of our first opportunities to change, because it's very difficult to change if we don't notice that something doesn't feel right, doesn't feel okay. So noticing how we're feeling, but then also recognising we don't need to feel bad about how we're feeling. We can remove the guilt, we can remove the shame, we can remove the criticism, as you said, because we can feel bad about how we feel if we don't feel okay, but we think there's lots that we should feel happy about. And we can recognise, first of all, compassion comes in. I think, learning to be compassionate with ourselves when we're not feeling good. And then also trying to tune in and say, well, what is my body telling me? What do I need? And often it is slowing down, doing less, because we feel like we need to do more. The more we do, the better we'll feel. And actually, I don't think we do need to do more. We need to do less. We need to slow down. We need to recognise that happiness is not in stuff.
And it's about, but also, I wish more people knew this. It's about, in that moment, you come out of your survival mode, which means that your prefrontal cortex comes back online.
Yeah.
And when we're in a functional freeze response, we're in a stress response, we're in survival mode. Of course, there are extremes. Our prefrontal cortex does not work optimally.
No.
And I always remember Deb Dana talking about this. I did some live classes with her, and she said we always think that we need our survival mode to survive. We actually need to be out of our survival mode to survive.
Yeah.
We need to come back to stillness.
Yeah.
That's really difficult for many people, I know.
Yeah.
But and I love the way you said it, we need to slow down. Do you want to just do, I know that there's some people watching it on YouTube, but for the listeners, you just want to run through a small tapping exercise?
I could do.
Is that okay?
Yeah. So tapping is working on set points in the body, and originally it was thought to believe that you tap on meridian points, acupressure points, and whilst tapping and thinking of things that are quite distressing or upsetting, what it does is it calms us down. Recent research has shown that it works through the endocrine system, and actually it sends a message to the amygdala to say, when I think of this thing, I'm actually not in danger right now. It's okay, you can calm down. So it has a real physical effect very quickly, which is why I think I personally really enjoy using it, because physically I notice such a difference in such a short space of time. So what you do is you tap on the side of the hand, and when you tap on the side of the hand, you do what's called a setup statement. And a setup statement is where you're saying to your brain, this is the thing that I want to focus on right now. And sometimes you might want to write some notes before you do some tapping. Sometimes you can do it in the moment if you're feeling really stuck. For example, you could do this, even though I'm feeling really stuck right now, I accept how I feel. And you're not saying, I'm happy about how I feel, but you're saying, I accept that this is where my body's at right now. So even though I feel really stuck right now, I accept how I feel. And you say it 3 times. Even though I feel really stuck in this moment right now, it's where my body's at. And then what you do is you tap on the individual points. You do the inside of your eyebrow, and you use your fingertips. So your first and your second finger, is that your index and your middle?
Finger, yeah, index, yeah.
And you do what's called a repeater statement, where you're saying to your brain, I'm feeling really stuck. And you can keep it really simple. And then you go to the outside of your eyebrow and you tap and you say, I'm feeling really stuck in this moment. And then you can move to perhaps how you feel in your body. So the next point is under our eye. And you say, maybe I feel that in my chest. I feel this tightness in my chest. And then you go to under your nose and you just do a few, 10, 20 taps. I feel the tightness in my chest. And then you go to under your lips. How else might we feel? I feel like I just can't move forward in life. And then we go to our collarbone. I actually love just tapping on the collarbone, because I find this one really helpful on its own. And you can use all of your fingertips for this one if you want to. Feeling really stuck in my body, feeling really stuck in my mind, feeling really stuck in my life. And then we go to underarm. So for women, it's sort of on your bra line. It's like a couple of inches down.
I always say a hand width. I always say hand width.
Yeah.
I like that one because it really vibrates.
Yeah, it does.
Through, yeah.
And then the top of your head. So all over the top of your head, feeling really stuck. And you would do a few rounds of this if you're just sticking on one thing, trying to work on a feeling in the moment. I like to finish as well with just like a hand on the belly, maybe a hand on the heart, and just one deep breath.
Yeah.
And release. And it's just it really helps the body to feel a bit calmer. Yeah. And then maybe help us progress out of that stuckness.
Jo, thank you for that. I'd love to move to the next section, which is answering questions from my wonderful Instagram community.
Okay.
Very relevant one here, relatable at the moment in life, and so many people feeling it. And this was a question that came up time and time again. So I've summarised it to include all, which is, life is getting so expensive.
Oh, yes, it is.
It's hard to feel joy when always stressed about money. Any advice?
I mean, I feel you. It's so difficult right now, and it's so hard not to feel stressed about that and not to worry about it. I think trying to recognise perhaps what's within our control and what isn't. And I mean, easier said than done, but you know, there is joy to be had in things that don't cost a lot of money. You know, we don't always have to be doing stuff to feel joy. And, you know, we don't even have to be chasing sunsets. We can find joy in the rain, you know, if we know how to look for it.
How to navigate the stuck feeling when children grow up and become independent.
Oh, dear. I think I cried about this on my stories yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't see it.
My eldest went to secondary school. Yeah,
oh, Joe.
yeah. And I was
so
just
you're really
bawling my eyes
oh.
out. Yeah, yeah. No, it's fine. It's life, isn't it?
It is.
It's hard.
Oh, it is so hard. Oh, yeah. It's such a moment, isn't it? And a lived experience. Yeah. All 3 of mine left home last year within 6 months of each other. No, it broke me.
Yeah.
It broke me.
Yeah.
Just the emotion of... Yeah, it's just
such a huge, huge transition.
It's a huge transition, but seeing it as not an end for me. So I'm answering the question now, but not an end, but only because I went through it in such an extreme force. It's not an end, it's just something new.
Yeah.
And then that really helped me. This is something new. Something new will bloom from this. It's a new beginning. Yeah. It's just changing.
Absolutely.
But gosh, it was hard.
Yeah.
So you're right in it, because this was last year for me. Your day too.
Well, he's still at home. He went to secondary school, but I think
big shift.
It's a huge, and I think, and it's also just allowing the emotion, you know, and actually cry if you want to cry, or, you know, it's okay to feel sad about this, because your life is not over, but your life is changing, and it's okay to recognize that. And yes, you know, your life can be amazing and probably will be amazing in a completely different way. But also it's okay to feel the emotion of the change. We don't need to try and hold it and suppress it. And I think, actually relating to the stuckness, I think sometimes holding in feelings contributes massively to stuckness. You know, when we're holding in the emotion, thinking that I need to be strong, I need to not, you know, show my tears, we need to let it out. You know, we need to let the emotions flow, and the more they flow, the more that they kind of wash over us.
The final question I ask all my guests is, what does it mean to you to choose you?
Well, I thought about this question, so I've seen it on your previous podcasts and things, and I think for me personally, to choose me is to recognise that me as I am is more than good enough. I don't need to change to please anybody or to fit into any way of being. And it's okay to recognise I'm not perfect. It's okay to recognise I've made mistakes, but also that's life. That is what being a human is about. And the more I recognise and I recognise that I'm okay with that, the more my life opens up, and the more I feel like I am choosing me, because I'm valuing who I am and you know what life is for me.
That's beautiful. What a lovely answer. Oh, that's lovely. No, I love it. And particularly that bit about valuing you.
Yeah.
That was really wonderful to hear, because how many people actually say that about, I actually value myself?
Yeah.
That hit me in a way. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Jo, it's been just so gorgeous to chat with you. It's gone so quickly.
It's gone so quickly.
And
thank you.
It's so lovely to meet you, and I can't thank you enough. I know my listeners will get so much from this.
I hope so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Will you come back?
Yeah, if you want me.
Oh,
yeah.
I love you too. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.